Hello, everybody. This is Blue Table Talk. I'm your host, Deborah Jones, and tonight we have our winners of our 2020 elections from our local winners from 2020 elections, and they're here to thank you for everything that you've done. To just congratulate you for thank you for everything that you've done. But before we go into that, I always go into COVID-19. So I'm begging you guys to go and get tested for COVID and kind of stay away from all these gatherings. This we into the holidays right now with Thanksgiving coming up and Christmas coming up, and these large families. Some of us have large families. Kind of separate your families right now, just because that COVID is not a joke. It's not a hoax like Donald Trump says. President Donald Trump says it's not a hoax. So, and he can boast of that because he just had it. So let's go to these places to get tested for it. Go to MD Kids Pediatrics on I-10 North Frontage Road, Suite 100. Appointments required, not suggested. You can go there. You can go to Beaumont Urgent Care. It's rapid testing. You can go to CVS. I think CVS is you have to wait at least 3 or 4 days before you get your results. But there are a lot of places, Walgreens, there are a lot of places that would test you for COVID. And if you have it, you have to stay in it 14 days and don't spread. Let's not spread it because right now in our city alone, it's rising. So at one point it was coming down. Now we're back to the point where it's rising again. So protect. And they say about a mask. Is a mask necessary? Yes, the mask is necessary. Not only protect the other person, it also protects you. So wear your mask. Go get tested, and let's be safe for one another. And you can have a great time for Thanksgiving. You can have a great time for Christmas, but let's protect ourselves and others. So tonight we have our Constable Javon Paula. Hey, Javon.
How are you?
And we have our Texas State Representative Joe Desatel. Hey, Joe.
Hello.
Good. So,
Hello.
we're gonna let them first. We're gonna let Javon come on. We always let the ladies go first. I'm sorry, Joe.
That's right.
Go first. She's gonna come and talk to you. She's gonna thank you for what you've done as far as voting. And before she come on, I want to say I am so elated about how we voted here in Beaumont because I can't tell you about any way to go to Triangular because you guys showed up and showed out. So go ahead, Javon.
I was joking with State Rep backstage a second ago, but this is like, I guess, one of the first stops on the thank you tour. When you're campaigning, sometimes you call it the tour, or the grind or whatever. And so it's nice when you're able to go back to those same people and tell them, thank you. We appreciate, all the hard work, all the effort, that everybody put in, your viewers, sharing our message, we've been doing a good job and we want to continue to do a good job for you. So it's important that, as an elected official, you not only are around during campaign time, but it's important that you're around throughout, the year, and you're able to let people know that you really appreciate them. And so it's important to go back to those same people and say thank you. It's a thank you goes a long way. And so to be able to come back on Blue Table Talk and tell your viewers thank you, I appreciate that opportunity because that's important to me to express the gratitude. I can't be where I am without people, supporting me in my reelection. So thank you.
And this is your second time around, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Yeah. And what do you have to offer people on that you didn't do last time that you're going to do this time?
uh, so there's a few things that we're working on. We want to expand our relationship with the local school districts. We want to expand our partnership with Beaumont PD and the sheriff's office. There are things that are being done in other progressive counties like Fort Bend, Montgomery, Harris County, that I believe we can bring, even Liberty County, that I believe that we can bring, to Jefferson County with the constable's office to work in better collaboration with Beaumont PD and the SO. And so there are going to be initiatives that we're going to be pushing out in the next 4 years that you'll be able to see a broader level of support from constables as it pertains to working hand in hand with BPD and the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. And then I'll tease a little bit about I have one kind of major initiative that I'm working on, and it has to do with the environment. And so it's something that I'm trying to push. It's something that's not out here currently. And if I'm successful, then I'll be able to be the first law enforcement agency to bring this to Jefferson County. So I'm kind of excited about it.
Wow, we excited. We welcome you on that because we're ready for you to bring some new ideas. So, does a constable job, is it 8 to 5, or do y'all work longer hours, or how do you do that?
I've split my office up since coming into office a couple of years ago, because a lot of times people either go into work early, out here shift work, or they get off late. And so I split my deputies. Half of the office works Monday through Thursday, and they work 10-hour shifts. The other half works Tuesday through Friday. And of course, I'm there, every day. But we do that to make sure that we have officers that are available to, serve the process to our constituents, whether it's at 5 o'clock in the evening when they get off, or 5:15 or 5:30. We try to be as flexible as we can. And then our office is usually open by about 7:15, 7:30 every morning. So if somebody needs to come in early on their way to work, we're there to accommodate them. And we've been doing that for the past 2 years. And so we try to make sure that our schedule is flexible enough to where it's easier for us to get our constituents served and get the process to them.
Oh, okay, cool. Representative Joe, tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been in office.
Okay, well, I was born here in Beaumont, Texas. I went to our Mother Mercy Catholic School through the 8th grade, except for 1 year. And then I went to Kelly High School and Lamar University and Thurgood Marshall School of Law. Finished law school, came back to Beaumont, ran for city council, served Ward 3 and at large city council. And then I was served on the Board of Regents at Lamar University, appointed by Governor Mark White. Then I served as vice president and legal counsel for Lamar University for about 10 years. Then went into construction for a while until Al Price announced that he was not going to seek re-election in August of 1998. And so there was a mini convention held here at the Jefferson County Courthouse where all the precinct chairs of District 22 convened a meeting, and I think there were 8 of us who spoke seeking the nomination, and they voted, and I was successful in getting the majority of those precinct chairs, and I was placed on the ballot in the following November of 1998. The Republicans did not put anyone on the ballot. It was a heavily Democratic district. And so that basically was the election when they elected to put me on the ballot. And I did not have an opponent until this past session. So I served 10 years unopposed and had a Republican opponent this session that just ended, this election that just ended this past November 4th. So I've served 20 years in the Texas legislature. I've held several chairmanships of different committees, and I look forward to working this upcoming session with Dade Phelan, who is from Beaumont and who I've known his family as long as I can remember, and their involvement with St. Elizabeth Hospital and then the Catholic Church and different organizations here in the city of Beaumont. And Dade's been in the legislature, maybe 5 terms. Alan Ritter served 5 terms, and then he decided he wasn't going to seek re-election, and then Dade Phelan ran and was successful in getting that seat. And Dade has served as chairman of a couple of committees, and now he's been pretty much got the pledges for over 90 members, upwards of 95 members of the House of Representatives for next speaker. So it's a pretty solid majority, and suspect that he will be the next speaker of the Texas House of Representatives.
So How's it different from the Senate?
How's what?
How does the House of Representatives different from the Senate? Are your guys?
Okay, the House of Representatives, there are 150 House members,
Right.
31 senators. So what you do is take to get the House districts, like District 22, which I serve in District 22. You take the state of Texas and you divide it by the population. Divide by 150. Take the population divided by 150. There's 150 of us, and whatever that number is, say 200,000. We each have that number. They draw lines around that number of people and create 150 districts that are pretty much have the same number of people in each legislative district. The Senate is closer to 1 million people, 800 and some thousand, because there are 31 of them in the Senate. And so for a bill to become law, to get to the governor, it has to pass both the House and the Senate. It can't just pass the House or just the Senate. It has to pass both houses, and when the same bill passes both houses and one's a little different than the other, it goes to a conference committee made up of 5 members of each house. They work out a compromise and it goes back to each body to accept it. And if each body accepts it, then it goes to the governor's office where he can sign it and it becomes law. He can not sign it and it becomes law, or he can veto it and it does not become law.
So is the Senate more powerful than the House of Representatives?
Well, neither one of them could pass a bill without the other, except the Senate represents more people.
Right.
But they can't do anything without the House agreeing and vice versa.
So each state has their own House of Representatives, right?
Each state, each state is pretty much, they have a different number. They meet different times. Some meet year round, some meet twice a year. We meet every other year. Some meet for 90 days, some meet for 6 months. It's just every state is different on how often they meet and how many people are in their legislature or Senate. But they all have House of Representatives and a Senate.
They are, you kind of went out on that last statement. You said they all have what?
Two bodies, the House, the representatives and the senators in each state. They just have a different number and they choose them in different ways, you know, based on the number. They all represent one man, one vote. So they all their Senate districts and House districts have the same a number of people in them based on that population of that state.
Oh, okay. So how would I be able to find a bill that I'm interested in, like education? How would I be able to find that? Do I have to call?
No, you can go online, and you can go online and to the Texas House Capitol website. I don't have it in front of me, but you can Google the state of Texas Texas legislature website, and then you can search by subject, or you can search by word. You know, if there's a certain word you want to look for, and then it'll populate with bills. You pick the session that you're looking for. This 86th legislative session, which just ended. If you look in there, you can go back, pick the session, and then go to do a word search to find a particular bill. All the bills dealing with that have that particular word or that particular subject. Or if you know the bill number, you can go directly to the bill. It would tell you who the author was, who the joint author was, and who the co-authors were, and when the hearing dates were, who were witnesses that testified for and against it. All that's available in public online on every bill that's filed. So
as far as pay raises and stuff like that, does that come through you guys? As far in education, does that come through you guys? And y'all
the actual pay raise is normally going to be done by the local school district. Okay. What we can do is the appropriations committee can allocate a certain number of dollars, certain amount of money to the school district for the purpose of giving raises. But normally we let the school districts determine who, you know, if it's incentive pay or what. There can be across the board raises, a 3% raise or something like that, but there's usually a pot of money that's given to the school districts to incentivize certain teachers. You get more if you go into certain schools, certain areas. you might get a higher stipend and things. They give that latitude to the school districts in most occasions.
Right. So when y'all do that to educators, can y'all remember the retirees, because I'm retired, so
Yeah, it's a whole different. The retirement system. Last legislative session, we made it whole. It was in a deficit for the retirement fund, so that was fully funded. And we're trying to keep the cost of living raises in there and the contributions down that retired teachers have to pay in order to access health care and benefits. There's always a challenge. There's a lot of teachers, retired teachers out there, a lot of people leaving the profession, and
right.
so not as much money going into the retirement system.
Exactly. I can vouch for that. I can vouch for that. Oh, okay. Let me go back to Javon. Javon, in order to work in your area as constable, do I have to be a policeman first, or what? How do I?
Yeah, constables are. We're peace officers like Beaumont PD, the sheriff's office. We just have a specialized training in civil law. But in order to be a deputy constable, you have to be a peace officer. Now, if you're elected as constable, you have, I believe it's like 240 days or 220 days to get your peace officer license from the time that you're elected. But you have to be a peace officer, yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. So how many days I have to get my license? How many days will it take?
Well,
right now, not that I want to be one.
No, I mean, there are some academies that are 3 or 4 months, if depending on if it's a full-time academy, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Then of course you have an academy like the Sheriff's Office Academy here locally, where it's an evening academy to accommodate people who are changing their profession. So it's it's evening time, so that of course takes longer. So it just depends on what type of academy you're going to. I know when I went to the academy, I worked at night, and then I went to the academy during the day, and I went to LIT, and I was able to get through the academy in I think it was about 4 months, 4.5 months.
Right. Joe, I remember when I worked at Phil Elementary School, and we used to take tours, and we used to go out to Austin to this House of Representatives, and to see how everything was run. At that time, Kathy Faye Chavis was principal then. Now she's Kathy Nelson. You know I'm speaking of. Kathy,
no.
She was principal there, and I think it was our 3rd grade class that went there, and we had a bus full of children. And
Did you say Kathy Chavis?
Yes.
Oh yeah, I do know her well, but you were breaking up really bad. Yeah, Kathy. Yeah, she was at Fail maybe at the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And she was always bringing 3rd grade students to Austin Middle. That was during the spring break. And we had to come out there and just I don't think you were there then. I think Al Price was there at that time. I'm not sure.
Right. I went in 99.
I don't know what year, but she's on here. She can, I'm sure she probably remember. But it was wonderful because the kids got to sit in court to see everything that was going on and everything, and they loved it. They loved it. I think we loved it more than the kids because we were.
Yeah, they got to go into the House floor. Yes.
Right.
Sitting in the chairs and right.
Now, how often do you say the legislators meet? How often?
Every odd year, for 6 months, for 140 days. So 2021 is an odd year, so we go in. We run on even number years. So the 2020, we ran, and then we're sworn in on the first Tuesday of January, of the odd numbers of years. So January this year we get sworn in. It's going to be a little different because of COVID. We're not sure how that ceremony is going to operate. Normally you have family and friends. The floor is packed with people sitting. Extra chairs are added, and it's elbow to elbow. But this year to have the Supreme Court's usually in there, and it's just full. But the gallery's full, and there's no seats left. It won't be like that this year. We don't really know who's going to be allowed to attend the swearing-in ceremony. I will defer to newer members. If there is a ceremony and there is limited space, I won't worry about being part of that. You know, it's a very ceremonial for the new people. I've been through a lot. I can be sworn in here, you know, in Beaumont and still be legal. So, but it's a ceremony that everybody, especially new members, look forward to because their family and kids are all there sitting with them when they raise their right hand and swear to uphold the Constitution. But that oath can actually be given anywhere by the right, you know, by a judge, officer of the court.
So who picks the House Speaker?
The members of the House of Representatives are the only ones that can vote for the Speaker of the House. The Speaker of the House has to be a member of the House, and the other members elect them as the first order of business. After we're sworn in, the first order of business after that is to elect the Speaker. Then the Speaker takes over the rest of the term.
Okay.
It's a long ceremony. There are nominations, 5 nominations that usually people give different, and then they finish that. It's usually determined well before that day, so it's pretty ceremonial. We have had, I don't know that I've been through 5 speakers. This will be my 5th speaker over 20 years. And I think they've been very hotly contested, but by that date, it's usually over with and there's no fight, no battle. They don't want to have that there when everybody's family and kids are on the floor. So they usually hammer that out well before that date. And a person gets pledges, and once you get sufficient number of pledges and they're published, people usually don't change their mind, so we know, you know, who it is, and everybody falls in line. It's usually unanimous. Every now and then you may have one member that will vote no on a speaker to make a statement, but that's most times it ends up being a unanimous vote.
Okay, so I know that the legislature makes the laws. Y'all make laws also?
Do what?
Make laws. I know the legislature make the laws. So do y'all make laws also?
Yes, we pass a bill. Any bill that we pass that would affect the statute or law has to also be passed by the Senate and vice versa. Some bills originate in the Senate, some bills originate in the House, but they have to pass both bodies in order to change the law or add to the law. So all the laws that govern you as a citizen on the state or local level is authorized, that power is delegated by the Texas House of Representatives and the Texas Senate to the counties or to the cities or to political subdivisions like school districts, drainage districts. All their authority comes from the Texas legislature, whatever authority they may have. Peace officers with the requirements of TCLOS and to be a peace officer, to be a fireman license, to be a barber, to be a doctor, all those things are set by the Texas legislature.
In order to be in the Texas House of Representatives, you have to be a lawyer first, or what?
Oh no, about a third of us are attorneys, but no, you don't have to be an attorney to be. A large number are. Some are educators, a few doctors, a couple of doctors in this past legislative session. I think there were 2 veterinarians, real estate people. No, you don't have to be a lawyer. Some retired people. It does require you to be able to be away from your job pretty much full time for an extended period of time, maybe 5 months or so. So if you have a law practice and have law partners or whatever to cover, or if you're retired, it's rather difficult for a young person. Say if you were employed at Best Buy, and then you decide to want to run, you probably couldn't keep that job and be in the legislature. But you have to be able to be away from you have to have the type of job that you can do, you know, online and even on the computer or not have to work at all to be able to take the time that is 140 days that you're going to be tied up in Austin every other year.
Councilman Javon, how do y'all, as far as because we in our COVID season right now, you know, it's a season. So how do y'all protect yourself from the other people? Do y'all, as far as your employees, do you have them come in the office, or do y'all Zoom, or how do you do that? How do you talk to them?
We've restricted, you know, access from other vendors or people that would normally come to the office. If we have a constituent that wants to come to the office, because a lot of times we'll have people that are like, well, I'm downtown, can I just come to the office and pick up my paper? Which we allow them to do that. But now because of COVID, you know, we try to make sure that we do everything through the window. But again, you know, to come into the courthouse, one of the things that have been instituted is temperature checks, and
Right.
you know, you sanitize your hands. My personnel, they wear their mask. My deputies were given masks at the onset of COVID, and
Right.
they know that when they're actually actively serving their papers, their masks are to be worn. They've been given an exhaustive amount of hand sanitizer, some that we've received as donations from like Exxon and other organizations that gave like Home Depot gave us a whole bunch of masks and a whole bunch of sanitizers. So we still have a lot of that in inventory. And so, you know, great partners like that care about first responders makes it easier for us to continue to do the job that we have to do, because again, to the state rep's point, a lot of what comes down, you know, from the state dictates how we serve papers right now. And so the papers that we are serving right now, we try to do it as carefully as we can. And that's just by, you know, you still have to hand people a service, but you know, you put your mask on, you make sure you sanitize, and you just try to be as absolutely safe as possible. Thankfully, so far, even with my office helping manning the testing site at the airport from the onset, we haven't had anybody catch COVID-19. We've been very fortunate in my office. We've been very blessed, but I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that I work with a great group of deputies that, you know, take this threat seriously enough to where they are, you know, following the protocols, and they're being as safe as possible when they're with us and even when they're not with us. And so that speaks a lot to our family environment that we have in our office. You know, my guys think enough about their coworkers that they do limit the stuff that they do when they're off even. And so that's, you know, I think those type of things, when you start thinking more about your neighbor or your coworker or your family member more than you think about yourself, I think that kind of helps, you know, stave off some of the potential threat of catching COVID.
Right. And that's very important, because I mean, like you said, like we said, you got to stay at least 6 feet or whatever, and be mindful of one another. And then that's the main thing, you know. You just can't just do it just anything now. So you have to be mindful of one another. Representative, I'm looking at my listeners, my viewers on here, and some of them they want to congratulate both of you guys. They congratulate both of you guys. And so Evan Nelson says, "Thank you for your commitment to education." And so, and you know, because of course, you know, education is my thing, and it's big, and we've always read about the Texas House bill and what you guys say about it and everything. So we're looking for better things this year and for education, you know, and as far as education, because now we have to keep it at home doing virtual learning, and we have some of the kids in school doing, you know, in school learning. But my thing is, your instructions are in school. You know, and how can I know you probably don't have anything to do with this, but how can we do this where the kids could get back into the school to get that instruction? That's important.
I think one of the shortcomings of getting that done is from a sanitation and air filtration problem that the school districts are having, the funding in order to change out the air conditioning system, filtration system, to do the necessary physical plant changes that are necessary to bring a lot of kids together and teachers. And so that has been a challenge. We all tend to agree that virtual learning is better than nothing, but it's not as good as in-person learning, particularly at younger ages. Keep a kid's attention at a computer screen who's in the 3rd grade, 2nd grade, 1st grade. They need a teacher there in a small class ratio, and so they're losing out, and we're realizing that, and it is a real challenge. I know that the educators are dedicated people who are trying to find a way to take care of their kids and take care of their classes. And so I know that the legislature is going to be wrestling with that. And on top of that, on top of COVID and that issue, we're facing a rather significant budget shortfall of almost $5 billion or more per year in the 2-year budget, 10 to $12 billion. So it's going to be a real challenge, and we're going to need teachers throughout the state to continue to lean on the legislators in their districts to keep education on top of the priority list as they look at various types of budget cuts and shrinking the budget, which is going to have to be done because we don't have enough money to cover everything we intended to cover.
Right. And it's really sad because you have these children, like you said, like from 4th grade on down, really needs to be in school.
Right.
They need to be in because that learning. I mean, I was tutoring a 4th grader, but I was only tutoring for one subject. Now she fallen in the other subject, so her parent went ahead and put her in school because I kept saying she has to be in school. She can't just pass one subject and then don't pass the others. So it's sad because these kids need to be in school, and all we know where all this come from. We know it came from the top. It has nothing to do with the state representative or anything like that. It came from the top. But we have to find some way to get these kids back in school learning. And so, I mean, do they write the legislators or what?
I think around the state that is being done by the teachers do need to contact their various legislators. Like you and I are talking, we have people doing this across the state, or should be doing it across the state, talking to their legislators about the education issue and the COVID impact on public education or education in general, and what resources can be brought to bear to help get kids safely back into the classroom.
Someone wrote, these kids really need to be back in school, especially elementary boys. They need that foundation to help them stay out of the jail system. So, yeah. Well, like you said, write your legislators and get other people to write them, and so we can see what's going on. So they can talk for you, and get all this stuff going on, get us back in order. So yeah, face-to-face learning is more effective, and this is from the principal. So she knows that face-to-face learning is more effective than anything. Well, write the legislator, right, Joe?
That's right. No, that's correct.
That's all I can say.
Yeah.
Write your legislator. So while we on that subject, how do they write the legislator? What address or phone number?
Well, I don't have it all. Each one of us has a different one. So you can just Google put your address in and ask who represents 4265 St. James Street, and it would tell you who your congressman is.
Each area has their own.
Everybody's got a different legislature. I only represent District 22.
Okay.
In Jefferson County.
Okay.
Part of it is the line that drawn around District 22, and there are 150 districts. Okay. So each district is represented by a different legislator, and so you just Google your address with the question who represents, and they'll tell you who your U.S. congressman is, who your constable is, because the different constables, different JPs, different City council, depending on where you live, is all different.
Okay. Okay. So y'all hear that? So, so what is the legislative process? What's the process of the legislative?
Well, you first someone will contact you with an issue they that they would like to see in the law or a change in the law. Then you take that idea and you send it to an organization called the Legislative Council, which is a group of lawyers in Austin, and they put it in bill format, the right format that a bill has to be in order to be voted on at some point in the future. And then you take that bill format, that bill, and you file it with the clerk's office in the Texas House of Representatives, and a clerk will give it a number. It's a sequential number. If the first bill is 1, the second is 2, or so on. So House Bill 5, which is a very famous bill from
right.
2 sessions ago, was the 5th bill filed that legislative session. And when you see a bill with a low single-digit number, that means it's a high priority bill. It might have not been the 5th bill filed, but the speaker will set aside a group of numbers, like from 1 to 20. And the first bill filed might be Bill 21, because those numbers are set aside for like the budget bills, and real high priority bills can use those low level numbers. So once you file a bill, they give it a number, and then it has to be read before the House 3 times. And when they say read before the House, they don't mean if it's a 1,000-page bill, you read every word of every page. You just basically read the caption. House Bill 5, extensions of public aid, that's reading it the first time. And the first time it's read, it's assigned to a committee. So they read the bill, clerk reads the bill, and it says assigned to the Education Committee. The next bill is read, assigned to Health and Human Services. The next bill assigned to public ed or whatever, higher ed. You can assign 100 bills in 5 minutes, and read 100 bills in 5 minutes. That's the first reading. Then once it's assigned to a committee, it has to go through the committee process before it gets to a second reading. It cannot get to a second reading until it goes through the committee. If it's assigned to public ed committee, then the chair of public ed has to set it for a public hearing in its committee. If he or she chooses not to set it for a hearing, it just stays there, dies, it never goes anywhere. Or he or she can set it for a hearing on a certain date and time. It has to be posted. And when it's posted, it has to be heard, cannot be heard before that time. The general public has a right to come and testify about that bill. It might be 1 witness testify, no witness testify, or 500. It depends on the bill and how much interest there is. So once the bill is heard, it's put back in the committee, and the chairman decides if he or she wants to bring it up for a committee vote. And if he has the votes to pass it, he brings it up for a committee vote. If it passes the committee vote, it's sent to a committee called Calendars Committee. So it passes education, then it goes to the Calendars Committee. The Calendars Committee purpose is to set bills on the calendar for the whole House to vote on. The chairman of the Calendars Committee or majority of the committee, if they don't like this bill, they can hold it in calendars. Right. Just like the chairman could have held it at the committee, they could hold it in calendars, and it never gets to the House floor. If it gets to the House floor, wow, and the calendar committee sets it for March the 13th at 10 a.m., it cannot be heard to after March 13th at 10 a.m. So when it's called, it's read again. That's the second reading. It's read to the whole body. And at that time, the author of the bill explains it to the entire body, what the bill does, what's in the bill, what's about it. Then they call for a vote of the full House. And then if it passes the second reading, it has to go to what's called a third reading. So that's usually the following calendar day, the following legislative day. There's a difference between a legislative day and a calendar day. But anyway, the next legislative day is read again for a third time, and it has to be voted on again. If it passes that time, then it goes over to the Senate, and it starts over. It goes to a Senate committee. Then that chairman can hold it in the committee or have a hearing. If it has a hearing, they vote it out to second reading. It goes to the Senate floor. They vote a third reading. If it passes there, it goes to the governor. If it's amended at all, if they change one word, it has to come back to the House. If the House doesn't agree with that one word change, it goes to a conference committee. And the conference committee is made up of 5 senators appointed by the lieutenant governor and 5 representatives appointed by the speaker. They kind of hash out this. Then it goes back to the Senate and back to the House for another vote. And so then eventually it makes it to the governor's desk. And the governor, if the governor lets it sit on his desk, it becomes law automatically after a certain number of days. If he vetoes it, it does not become law, or he can sign it and it becomes law. So you can see it's not easy to pass a bill. It has to go through a lot of steps. It's much easier to kill a bill than it is to pass a bill. So bills that are passed, the legislation, I think I passed 10 bills last session, which is a lot because it has to go through all of that. And, you know, it takes experience. It takes time to get that because some 7,000 bills were filed and 1,700, I think, passed. So it's a process, and it's the same process that goes on at the Senate simultaneously with their bills. So
That's a lot. It's a lot. It probably take like a year or so or more, right, for a bill to pass, right?
well, we're only there for 140 days, so we can't hear bills for the first 60 days. So all this happens is in a very contracted piece of time, and that means we're there all the time. It's not unusual. Every session there's some hearing that might start at 4 in the evening to 4 the next morning. We're there until 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock the next morning, listening to witnesses. Because we can't cut people off. If they want to testify, we sit there and listen to them, you know, one after the other. So it becomes that last 6 weeks or 2 months becomes you don't know what's going on outside of the Capitol. You don't know what's going on in the world. You're there like 20, you're just there, you know, just working there.
Remind me not to run for state representative.
Yes. Goodness.
No, you have to. It's not for everybody.
It's not. I see that. When you're talking, it ain't for me.
It's not for everybody.
Now, speaking of, we're speaking of the Senate. Well, let's speak of the Senate. Not only speaking of the Senate, and we know that we right back into the situation we were when President Barack Obama was president. He's Democrat, and now our Senate was most Republican, all Republican. We right back into the same situation. So now that Joe Biden and Harris, the president and vice president, the Senate is Republicans. So what do you think about, what do you guys, both of y'all, what do y'all think about any bills passing through there now? You
want to go 100, Jamal?
Well, I mean, I think it's kind of like what we touched on backstage, you know, being able to work with people on the opposite side as you and reaching across the aisle, and even on the local level. You know, it's important to work with other elected officials, regardless of the party that they ran on. It's very important that you put partisan politics aside and you try to do what you believe is best for your area, your local municipality, whether it's, you know, precinct 1 or Jefferson County as a whole. And even with that Constable's Care initiative that I started, you know, I was able to work with my Republican counterparts in Mid-County as well as the Democrats in South County. And I think, you know, talking with State Rep about Dade Phelan, you know, to see if he's, as the, you know, projected Speaker of the House, is he somebody that's
right,
more leaning towards the center, that's going to be able to work with, you know, both Democrats and Republicans. I'm hoping that even though there's a majority, or the, you know, the Republicans have held the Senate, you know, on a national level, I'm hoping that they're able to put, you know, partisan stuff aside and do what's best for the country as a whole. And a lot of that times it kind of starts at the local level, and it can have an opportunity to kind of, you know, ripple effect outward. And so hopefully we see some of that happen in the next 4 years. I know locally for me, I'm excited about working with the commissioner's court, which right now is Republican held, but at the same time, I have no doubt that those men want what's best for Jefferson County. And so the initiatives that I plan to bring, I hope that we're able to look at it through a scope of, okay, is this best for the county, and not just is this a Democrat trying to push something through, or Republicans trying to stop her, but is it actually going to be good for Jefferson County and good for Precinct 1? So hopefully we get a lot of bipartisan things happening in the next 4 years, whether it's on a local level, a state level, like with Rep, Desautels, and even on a national level.
Yeah. Well.
Okay, on the Senate, we were talking about the U.S. Senate when you talked about the president, and we're yet to determine who's going to control the Senate. There are 2 seats up for a runoff in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Biden won Georgia, so Senate seats are statewide. That means the entire state gets to vote on it, just like they do for a governor or something like that. So the fact that Biden was able to win Georgia, looks like he will end up winning Georgia, that in itself says that there are a number of people who will vote Democrat in Georgia. So those 2 senators have the same people they're going to be appealing to that voted for Biden. The issue is going to be, and the challenge is going to be, that's on January the 5th, is to get those same people out, or even new ones, because they have a right to register new voters.
Exactly.
Stacey Abrams has started a campaign already to register new voters in Georgia. If we're successful in getting those 2 seats, then we will have control of the Senate. We already have control of the House. We lost some House of Representative seats, but I think we still have 226 to 207 or something. We have a majority in the Senate, in the House. If we win those 2 seats, and then should there ever be a tie, well, then Pamela Harris would break the tie. So we would control the Senate, but we have to win both of those seats in Georgia on January the 5th. Which is certainly possible to do from a numbers game, but just motivational to get the people out to understand the consequences of Mitch McConnell remaining in charge of that Senate.
Right.
And his pledge, he's still going to be controlled by Donald Trump. Lindsey Graham's still going to be controlled by Donald Trump. And this is not going to end. This control is going to remain for years to come, as long as Donald Trump is around, because Donald Trump has managed somehow to have some sort of cult status on a huge amount of people who, regardless of what he does, they're going to follow him. They will follow him, over a cliff. So and the reason that the senators are doing this, the reason grown men who are United States senators shiver in their boots behind Trump, who has been defeated as president, all he has to do is go to the people in that senator's district, be it Nevada, be it Montana, and say, this guy turned his back on me, y'all need to punish him, and he would not win re-election, because there's these people who follow Trump that way. There are people who voted for Trump aren't that way. There are people who voted for Trump for some fiscal reason or for some reason, but there are people who voted for Trump, and I'm talking about that group who says, he could shoot somebody, I could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and not be convicted. It's those people I'm talking about. It's those people that would do what Trump tells them to do. If he says, take your mask off, or if he says, jump over that hill, they're going to do it. If those people, and there's so many of them, that the senators are afraid that if they cross Trump, even if he's on his way out, and he tells those people in their senatorial district to get rid of him, that those people are going to follow his advice. So he's going to be a player on this national stage for many years to come.
I watched the news today, and I was looking at the people who was following him going into the office where he was, and they were asking him questions about what do you think about Trump losing the race, and they say he hadn't lost yet. And say, why haven't you congratulated President-elect Joe Biden. And so they say, for what? You know, he hadn't won anything, and stuff like that. And I mean, it's sad because it's like they're in denial. So I don't know what's going to happen between now and the 71 days or 72 days that he's in the office. Anything can happen.
I don't know. Yeah, it concerns me that he fired the Defense Department.
Defense, yes.
Department of Defense secretary, on his way out the door, and of course we can assume he's going to pardon everybody who had anything to do with the Mueller investigation. Those people who were convicted legitimately, went to court legitimately, found guilty by a jury of their peers. He's going to free all of them. He's going to attempt to pardon himself.
Right.
And that's going to be an issue that's going to get before the Supreme Court. I personally don't know how you can pardon yourself, but he's going to certainly, that discussion is certainly floating around.
Right.
Especially if he hasn't been convicted. I don't know how you pardon someone for something that they hadn't done and just give a blanket pardon. There's nothing you could do, nothing you could have you done up to this day can you be convicted of. I don't know how that would work, but he's going to attempt to do it.
Well, much prayer, much power. No prayer, no power. That's all I can say. Well, it's the time. The clock says almost time for us to get off of here. But I want you to give your listening audience, because they're out here congratulating you. I want you to give your listening audience something, either with something that you want to say to them, whatever you want to say to them. Started with a girl.
Well,
I thought it was.
Yeah, I do want to. Javon started off. I never did yet. Thanking all the people who worked so hard in my campaign, and I worked alongside some of her people at some of the polls, and Zena's people. They were so well organized, so professional. I mean, I got compliments on all of our people, all of our poll workers, who respected people's opinion, whether it was different than their own. I think we showed a lot of grace and a lot of civility at the polls, and unlike some other places in this country. So I was just so thankful to everyone who passed out a card for Joe Desautels. Made me proud, and hoped I made them proud. And I know Javon feels the same way, and Zena feels the same way. People worked very hard for us to get reelected. People we don't even know was working for us, and working and making phone calls and pushing cards and calling their families. So I just want to thank all of them so very much.
Yeah, you must have done a good job while you in office. So they out there pushing you.
Well, I hope that's the reason. Hope so.
Javon, I know you thanked me earlier, but
I'm gonna echo what Mr. D said. We're just very appreciative. I appreciate my team. I appreciate the party chairman, Trahan, for what he was able to accomplish in his first tenure. Being able to bring the party together and get us across the finish line, it's super important. So, I'm excited about the next 4 years. I look forward to growing support here in Southeast Texas for good candidates. And like I said from the onset, I felt like we had the better candidates, and the election bore that out. We all were reelected, and we were all reelected soundly. So that speaks to the ability for us all to garner bipartisan support across the board. And I think that speaks to the fact that we are all candidates that care for the people of Jefferson County, whether they're independent, Democrat, or Republican. So, I'm very grateful. I'm humbled to be able to continue to serve. It's always exciting to be the first. So to be able to be the first woman constable elected in Jefferson County, I'm glad that I'm able to continue to carry that mantle. And I look forward to fun 4 years of growing and learning and being a part of the landscape changing here in Jefferson County.
Yeah, I do. I want to echo what you said about Joseph Trahan. This was his first stint as the chair of the Democratic Party. They worked very hard on organizing, getting the votes out in phone banks. Many of us, the three of us, ran our own separate campaigns, but it was certainly helped and certainly dovetailed into the work that the party was doing, and all working together made a difference. And I thank my Republican supporters. I had a number of them from the Republican Party who voted for me as well in District 22, and I definitely do appreciate that, and got a lot of calls from Republican constituents, because I do represent the entire district regardless of what their party is. I never ask a person, did you vote for me or what party you're from? I just ask them, how can I help if I can?
Right, exactly. Well, the listener viewers are out here saying, outstanding, congratulations. I'm so glad you guys won. You make us very proud. Representative Jessica, we are proud of you. We love you. Same as Javon, we are proud of you. We love you. Keep up the good work. And I guess, hey, hands out to you guys. We love you. We appreciate you. Keep up the good work. And, just keep on keeping on.
I gotta come back when I have one of my initiatives to talk about. I'm gonna come back.
Okay, great. And let me know when you want to come back so I can put you on the calendar. So, okay. So look, next week I will have a young man. He does a podcast, but he's in the top 20 of his podcast. So I'll have him on next week. And as a matter of fact, he's my nephew. So how about that? Maybe you could tell me a little bit something. So if I can help somebody as I pass along this way, then I know that my living won't be in vain. So I appreciate, like I said, Constable Javon Pollard and also State Representative Joe Jessica for coming out tonight. I hope you guys got something out of it. Thank you for your questions and your thoughts and your congratulations. Appreciate you guys. God bless you, and see you later.
Goodbye.
Oops. Oh, I didn't mean to go out. Wait. Y'all went out. Oh my